there.
Hey there, fella. How are you?
Good. I'm obviously running a couple minutes late.
It's all good.
But Oleg and Mike, Alan should be here. So you've got like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So if you have any, you know what I mean? If you got
You bet.
whatever,
I will plug myself in.
And there's Alan. We're not
Ooh,
broadcasting.
Dan's wearing
yet,
a
we're just
fancy tie
recording.
tonight.
Huh?
Nothing, I'm making fun of you, Dan.
Not you. See if I get this right. I'll be right back.
I've got my fancy tie on too. You just can't see it.
It rocks.
Now here's the question, Sarah. Is your wall painted in chroma green, or is that
No, it's just the person before me's office painted it green, so it's not chroma green. No, I'm not in the studio. They're recording some things in the studio, so I was afraid that I'd get interrupted. So I'm in my office, which is about the size of a broom closet. I can't even. I mean, that's as far as it is. That my outstretched hands.
Hello.
Evening, Oleg. How are you doing?
Hi, Oleg.
A little bit on the sick side, but I'm okay. I see we got the celebrities in the house.
Yes, and she actually has a webcam this time.
Excellent. But I'll bet you it's not Dan's, though. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm a little under the weather, but it's okay. We'll try to stumble through it.
Great. Well, where are you from?
Originally from Kiev, Ukraine.
Great. I was visiting with Rama Shama from the BBC in a Kiev hotel room the other day. So. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Alan, it's nice to meet you as well. Where are you from?
A pleasure to meet you.
Before, just a quick point. Let's you get to know Alan first before you say it's nice to meet him.
I gotcha. I see how it works.
No, I'm just kidding.
Now, Oleg, I noticed you didn't actually mention where you're currently living.
Oh, well, I'm sure you were asking. I'm sure about where I'm because of the accent, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's why. But right now I live in Kirkland, Washington, in Washington State.
Excellent. How's the weather there? We've had about an inch of snow here.
I'm gonna post a picture outside of my house that I just took with my phone, and it'll blow you away in terms of how the sky looked. Absolutely, I've never seen a sky like this. Just amazing. The sun was coming down, and the whole sky was full of clouds, and it was like it was on fire. I mean, it was just an incredible looking view.
I love capturing
Absolutely
pictures like that.
Stunning. In fact, let me see if our instant upload already uploaded it, and I couldn't even grab my camera. I just grabbed my phone and took some pictures, and because it's just unbelievable. Mother-in-law was leaving the house, and she goes, "You have to go check this out." And it was just absolutely stunning. So I'm gonna post it on as soon as it uploads. I'm gonna post it up so you can see. But basically, it's been a little bit on the cold side, but not bad. Not bad. I love Seattle. I've always have. I've been here for over 30 years.
All right.
And,
So have you met Matt Markovich?
No, I have not.
He's a Seattle guy interested in Hangouts and how they work. So.
Gotcha. No, I haven't. Since nobody else is listening right now, there's way too many Russians in Seattle anyway. So I much more prefer Americans to Russians. I know it sounds strange, but that's what it is. Plus, I've been a citizen for some 27, 28 years now, so I don't consider myself much Russian at all.
And so, Alan, you like to tell stories, huh?
That's not quite what I say. I do like to tell stories, although I'm not terribly good at it. What I more prefer to do is help other people tell stories, which is what my profile really talks about. And that's true to a large extent. I'm not very good at telling stories myself. I'm not very good at writing stories, but I like to think I am anyway, pretty good at helping others tell stories in new and different ways.
Neat. So who's the purple character in your profile picture?
Tisk, tisk, tisk. That's Figment. He's just a figment of my imagination.
Ah, there you go.
He's
Get it?
He's a combination Disney Kodak character from when Epcot opened, and up until I guess about 10 or so years ago, they had somebody who would walk around with Figment as a puppet, talking to you and interacting with you.
Cool.
He again, up until about that time, I guess, yeah, up until about 10 years ago, he was the main character in their Imagination Pavilion there. And then about that time, they unceremoniously killed him, to pretty much universal hatred, and brought him back about 2 years later.
By the way, if you looked at Alan's profile, did you look at his blog?
No, I didn't. Look at
Well, he's got a blog dealing with four-letter names.
Four-letter words.
Words, sorry. But basically, based on my first name, I'm sure this is where the idea came from.
Oleg, I do have to admit, I've been a couple of days behind in posting a new one, and every time I think of one, I've been going, Oleg's a four-letter word.
Exactly. Well, I've told you that many times. Exactly.
But
Hill is a four-letter word.
Hey, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and start the Hangout on-air part. Okay. Just to warn you guys.
that means we need to behave, huh?
I was going to ask, is it a statement or a threat?
Well, okay. Here's the deal, Sarah. This is your first time on, so what we do is this is broadcast like you do with an on-air Hangout. It's also on Justin TV. The Justin TV feed. It's produced. Oh, let me cut this volume off. Sorry. Why is that happening? I'm sorry, I can't adjust the I got to turn this volume thing down. That
You
is
sound like
really
a big brother right now.
Oh my God, I can't handle that.
Relax, Dan. Relax.
Anyway, I'll just deal with it. Can you understand me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
but we do hear the echo.
Yeah, it's awful. If I turn my mic on, it's returning back out the speaker, so I've got to figure out what setting does that.
Why don't you just have Alan do the interview?
I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to mute it for now.
Or we can do something new.
We can sing. We can sing.
No, I was going to say something new. Sarah will interview herself. That would be
That's right.
Are you seriously nervous?
I am a little bit. I'm not used to having people ask me questions. I'm usually on the other side. So yeah, I am a little nervous.
I'm a nice interviewer.
Are you? Okay, you want to ask me anything controversial, like
He says that just to relax. No, he's.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Dan's a good, fun interviewer.
You want to ask me what I think of SOPA or anything else?
Actually, Dan, you know what I was thinking?
Here's the deal. So let me just give you a brief primer, whatever we do. The way it works is the produced version's on Justin TV. If your internet's good, you can watch both. Just mute that one. That should be done on a separate computer if you have that luxury. But
yeah,
you're
I
fine
probably won't do. Yeah.
Okay, you're fine just on the Hangout.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but they're both done simultaneously. It's produced live, right? So it's like right now I have a chroma key behind me, you see, but on Justin it's blue. And then what we do is you are welcome to just do your segment, and you're up first. Except I'm trying to get the Republican chairman for Virginia, to do a quick 5 minutes on the judge's ruling today about the 4 candidates not being on the ballot because it's breaking news. But I think he's busy.
Can't imagine why.
Right, he was sued by 4 of the presidential candidates, which is making him unique among the Republican chairmen. I'm logging into Justin here. Okay, so you are welcome. Have you seen our topic list?
Yes, I did. On your post earlier today?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you are interested, you're welcome to just do your segment, and then we'll say thanks, and you can roll out, or you can be part of the discussion for the whole show or some portion of the show, whichever you'd like.
Okay.
It's cool either way. And if you want to stick around for a while and then politely excuse yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to stick around for a while if you'll have me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you're not sick of me by then.
Nah.
She's finally going to come clean on SOPA.
Yeah, hey now.
Was that an intentional joke there, Dan?
It was indeed.
So
Probably the last thing she wants to do is offer an opinion because her employer and her brain probably have 2 different views on it.
Absolutely.
She doesn't have to confirm that.
Well, we don't want to get anybody fired.
No. She's an impartial journalist. She has no opinions.
That's right. I am on the fence.
You're so not on the fence. But that's cool. All right. So I'm going to ask you, tell me a little about yourself, about KOMU. It's the University of Missouri School of Journalism.
Missouri
And is
School
the
of
station
Journalism.
a university-owned affiliate?
It is, but we're a commercial affiliate. We're the only commercial affiliate in the world that's associated with a journalism school.
Okay.
It's a real TV station, but we got a lot of students out there.
Okay, cool. There's, and then I'm going to ask you, how'd you get started? What caused it? What's it like? Just sort of that sort of thing, and then we'll wing it from there. And then
Let's
Alan
wing it. I love it when you wing it.
Yeah, Alan and Oleg can do whatever. They can, I'll hit them up, and then in a moment I'm going to open it up to the regular callers. I've invited Linda. I don't know if she's going to do it or not. She wants to, but she's worried about the black box. I told her about Minicam. All right, let me invite the callers. That's my circle of regular, trusted people.
We call those FCC approved in my house.
Some of them are, unless they have 6 or
Unless
7
Bowie could join.
bottles behind them, and then it gets a little
We
hairy
call them paid
sometimes.
informants.
Yeah, paid informants. That's good.
Well, in our case, it happens to be unpaid, but
I appreciate you reminding me of that all the time, Oleg.
No, that wasn't meant anything at
I'm
all.
picking on you.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think we're set now. Let me do a post. All right. Y'all can talk. I'm just posting and stuff. You can.
Okay, so Sarah, basically the way it works is if you don't like the question then ask you, you just turn around and just go, how about I ask you a question for a change? And you just, go right back at that.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, it
Very
works
good.
really well this way. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And if it didn't work that way before, it will now.
There you go.
Usually interrupting is not polite, but if you have Russian accent, no sweat.
I gotcha. And when he starts shaking his head really violently, that means wrap it up, right?
No, we never get to that point.
No, you just ignore it at that point.
Yeah, usually after about 2 hours, he'll say, we're running really, really long, and then he'll launch into a 15-minute discussion about something.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And so we're thinking about recording that part, so they can just push a button. It'll say you're running long.
I gotcha. My plug-in has stopped. Let's
Uh-oh.
see if it's,
We can hear you. See, you're fine.
You're KOMU 8, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, your page. I just want to make sure, because I know there's a KOMO.
Right, that's in Seattle.
Right, so I just want to make sure I don't,
We're KOMU 8 News.
Yep,
That's,
got it.
That's the brand page.
I know we
KOMU
love that
News.
station, but I don't want to affiliate them with you, because if they want that, they can pay you.
There you go.
But until
I like
then,
that.
it's KOMU.
Hey, Dan, would you care if I popped out real quick and restarted my browser just so it doesn't crash?
Absolutely, no
Okay,
problem.
I'll be right back, okay?
We got about 5 minutes or more.
Okay.
We won't start without you.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, David.
Food here.
What is this now?
What's up, guys?
Hi.
I
You
love
have a totally different background today.
I'm sorry?
You have a totally different background today.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying out a different camera and some different hardware today.
No, I think you're getting closer to the Google look. It's all whiter colored and nice and clean. Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Harold.
Hello.
One of the things I just realized is that the On-Air has adopted the new layout as well. It's got the new volume meters,
Yeah, everything is at the top.
Yeah.
Just a little on-air thing on the left. That's the only way you can tell.
Oh, Sarah's gone.
Yeah, she'll be back. She needed to restart her browser.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's
What's
what
wrong,
happened. It took me about 7 or 8 clicks to get in here. I started off with Safari, and it wouldn't let me in, and I had to go to Internet Explorer.
I started straight off with Safari. I wasn't going to risk this.
How come, if you don't mind me asking, how come you're not using Chrome?
Chrome crashes constantly.
Really?
So
Because
I had to go into Internet Explorer.
You ready for this one, Oleg?
Yeah.
Because Google has told us not to use Chrome for Hangouts.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Yep.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Dan, you were there.
Oh, I
You were
missed
in
it.
the room with us. Jenny
You were-
Murphy told us.
Is that like a super temporary deal, or they don't know when it's going to be fixed? Because I'm using Chrome.
I
Jen
use
Mur-
Internet Explorer on the air, but
No, here's
Yeah.
the thing. It's a temporary thing. They know that there are problems with Chrome, and we were Harold and I were in a hangout with one of the technicians that
Jenny
work on the
Murphy.
plug-in. No, not even with the next day.
Mm.
We were in with one of the technicians
That's
of the
Gene.
hangout.
That's Gene. That was Gene.
In Gene's hangout, but it wasn't. Who were we talking with? I can't remember his name. I need to go look it up again.
Yeah, we were talking to Tom. His name was Tom, and
Thank
he
you,
was
yes.
the special guy.
Gotcha.
So,
how you doing, Harold?
Good. I'm one of the regulars here, Sarah.
You're one of the
You are
regulars everywhere, aren't you?
Not much to do in Navajo country, so he hangs out all the time.
There's a lot to do. Math teaching,
Well,
pageantry.
Yeah, well, when he started this, and our second one was with the longest hangout, his second broadcast, and that's when the first time I came on, which was a long, long time ago.
I actually called on the phone the first time to talk about dinosaur age.
David, it's nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, this computer's a little bit slow. I was trying to close out some stuff. No, I'm probably live from Arlington, Texas, and that's right in the middle between Fort Worth and Dallas. So.
Let me ask Harold a quick question. Linda Laurie is watching on Justin,
Yep.
and she was going to come in, but she hates that black square that appears, and she's trying to. I told her she should download Minicam. Harold, you do that. I mean, that'd be easy, right?
Manicam's real easy. It's free.
No, but what is that going to give her if she doesn't have a camera? I don't
She
think
wants
it
to
matters.
just put her profile picture up instead of the black square, so she can just get Minicam to recognize her picture, or to project
That's
her
right.
picture, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yep,
have
that's right.
Hangouts recognize Minicam instead of her regular cam as a source.
Yes, you can do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, T-minus 4 minutes. I got to make sure that Pat Mullins hadn't called me back.
That's strange. I thought they just simply removed the picture. That's what I thought.
No, the neat thing about Minicam is that it's a virtual camera and it has a whole bunch of different input sources that you can do.
Right.
One of the things that I like doing, that I do a lot with it, is I will have this picture of me, and I'll have text scrolling up the side of the screen, and my son really likes it when I do that with him. He just goes nuts over having these words scrolling by.
That's great. How old's your son?
3.5.
I've got a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. So.
That's impossible.
Yeah, no, it is.
Sarah?
I also have a 46-year-old. He's my big baby.
Okay, well that I can understand, but to have kids that old, based on what I see on the screen, that's
Well, I
not
started
possible.
when I was 5, so you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
That now fits in. Very good, Oleg. Very good.
Sarah, you're missing Brainiac again. Craig Lukey just started Brainiac.
I know. Kim invited me. I told her. I said I'll check in after we're done. So I lost big time last time.
Yeah,
Because my browser, my internet connection was slow, so I would post it and think that I won. Be like, real, and they're like, no, screen grabbed it. I'm like, let's see the instant replay, and they would screen grab it and show me. So
Yeah.
What is that, if you don't mind asking?
it's a game show. Early
it's-
days of programming on G+.
I'll put in the link here.
So,
That's the one
game
with
show,
the
you like
video?
one of the games, or it's a hangout game?
It's a hangout
Yeah,
game.
hangout game.
Classic.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune, and they put up words, and then people in the hangout have to guess. So it's all fast paced, and then people outside the hangout are guessing too. And he has sound effects, he has graphics, he has visuals. He even has people faces on the different squares of the game card of people who hang out regularly. I mean, it's fascinating. It's a blast to play.
He's got that coming in through a video feed, correct, if I remember correctly?
He's just sharing his screen, right,
Yeah.
Harold?
Well, I don't know if he's sharing his screen or
Yeah,
if he's
well,
doing it with the video feed.
he has some software that puts his
Yeah.
picture in there also. So he does
Yeah.
have some extra software.
That's what I
involved.
thought. Yeah. That's actually interesting, his story. He actually had written that for a similar video application, I guess he said about 4 or 5 years ago. and he adapted it for Hangouts.
Avi.
Very cool.
So it's an interesting application. It's an interesting spin on how to do Hangout games.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I'm the batter that comes in here if someone's needed and moves out if someone needs to come in. So I hold a place for everybody, and I pop out if they need somebody.
Just like you, News.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, these two guys here are regulars. They're on every week, and I come in and talk some of the time.
Also notice that Harold is between us. So that's like
To keep you guys apart?
You notice that Dan is in between us, too.
Yeah. Man, you have got a lot of Coke cans up on your shelf.
Exactly. Well, because remember he told you he was into this character from Disney, and they went ahead and took out, so he switched alliances to Coca-Cola now.
There you go.
No, I wouldn't say I've had an alliance with Coca-Cola for many, many years. You can't see the details on most of them, but just about every can there is from a different country.
Mm-hmm. Some of
got,
them look vintage, too, or maybe not.
Yeah, some of them are vintage, where vintage is, 20 or 30 years old. I mean, none of them are too old.
That's an eBay bookcase, in other words.
Yeah, but they're probably not worth all that much. And the glass bottles are in a different room. Those tend to be more interesting.
So what got you into collecting Coca-Cola cans? I noticed you have a Coca-Cola...
it's a chalkboard, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got an assorted other Coke memorabilia. Actually, can you... Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
The image in the top corner there is actually it's probably the oldest item in my collection. It's a Coca-Cola check from 1945.
Wow.
That was pretty cool when I discovered that.
You must have been like close to 20 by then, no?
Almost, yeah. No, I first got my collection started when a relative of mine came back from Israel with a Coke bottle from Israel. And I'm just like, that's just too cool. And since then, I've just been collecting more bottles and cans from around the world.
You don't have any Russian stuff, do you?
I do. This is actually one of my favorites in the collection. I'll be right back.
No.
All right, Sarah, what city?
Columbia, Missouri.
Columbia, Missouri. Joining me from KOMU NBC 8. Is that how you say it, or what do you say it?
Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
What do you say on the air?
KOMU TV 8.
Yeah.
KOMU TV 8 in
Mm-hmm.
Columbia, Missouri, or Missouri?
Missouri. Although Kit Bond would say Missouri. Missouri's fine.
It's locals. Are you local, or are you like you've been market to market?
No, I'm local.
Okay.
In Missouri. Grew up in Northeast Missouri. Went to school here and never left.
Do you know a Claudia Coffee?
No, Dan, I don't.
She's been in several markets. I don't know if you'd run into her. Let me make sure my shots are right.
Yeah, I am bringing the estrogen tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Balancing you
trying.
balancing you guys out.
We want to get Linda in here.
Linda says she's trying many cans. She's working on it. Anyway, Oleg, this is one of my favorites of my collection.
Yeah, it's very cool.
What's even more cool about it in my mind is it dates from about 1987.
Yeah. So
which was a period in time when Coca-Cola wasn't allowed in the Soviet Union.
Really?
Huh.
They still had exclusive marketing rights with Pepsi at that time.
Okay, that's why I saw Pepsi. That explains why I saw Pepsi.
Right.
No Coke, Pepsi.
Right.
Yeah.
This is from a friend of mine who went with my high school band on a trip to the Soviet Union then. And I said, look, I don't know if you'll find it, but if you could bring back a Coke bottle. He's like, you're kidding me, right? I'm like, no, I think it would be cool. He still has his. I still have mine. But he said it was hard to find. He had to get it from the black market because the official distributors only had Pepsi.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess
One
it probably
thing-
didn't exactly taste right either.
I was going to tell you, Sarah, we did hangouts with the engineers the other day, and one of the things I asked them is I'd love to be able to select for the shot, like if you ever go on the air with your hangout, and you're doing what I'm doing, where you're bringing one specific person in, and if someone starts typing, you don't want it to switch, and you've got to click, and It's better now because it used to you could easily mute or block somebody accidentally trying to click on their face to
Just
select
click
them.
on the thumbnail. That's what I do.
Right. I'm trying to get them to set it up to use your keys 1 through 10 or Alt 1 through 10. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, that would be neat.
So
It'd also be neat
right key.
if the chat was embedded, the outside chat was embedded within the Hangout. So within the Hangout, I wouldn't have to go to a screen behind to chat with people outside of Hangout. Like something like Scribble It Live inside, like embedded inside, so that you wouldn't have to. Like right now, people who are watching this outside the Hangout will comment underneath your on-air Hangout, like I'm watching.
The comment thread,
But
not
if
the
they,
internal chat.
if they outside would have the ability to comment inside as well, and we all inside and outside the Hangout could comment within within the Hangout, that would be great and would save us clicking back and forth between the screens. We also are having problems with the white space, shutting down our camera iris because we shoot a studio camera on it as well, and it sees that white space and it just sucks up all the light system of the faces.
You can't do a manual white balance?
Well, you can, but see, that studio camera moves. It's not just on that shot, and they're robotic. Yeah, so it has several different shots. So, I mean, we're able to bump it up on the fly, but it would be great if it was something other than white.
Another thing for those guys to worry about, yeah. Okay. If you could center yourself just a little bit.
To my right or my left, sir?
To your right.
Okay.
Just so you're in the center of your shot. You could select yourself and see where you are, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
I look like I'm in center, though, don't I?
Yeah, you're
Am
good.
I not centered?
You are, and it was me. So hang on, let me change it. A rare McDermott mistake, right?
That's one for the night.
Huh. Wait till a stink bug lands on me. You try to maintain your.
I saw that. Yeah, that's.
Dan, you really have to interview the stink bug one of these nights.
Well, we certainly had time last week. 2 hours was ridiculous. We got to tighten it tonight.
Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Sarah will never do the show again if we go 2 hours.
That's all right. My kids are well entertained, so.
On this new Microsoft Social Network, I just got a thing. I'm having Mike Mozart's following me, Robert Anderson, and James Lawson.
Oh, darn.
On this new Microsoft network, so they're all popping over there.
Dan or Oleg, if you guys want an invite, I've got a bunch of invites. Actually, Sarah, if you want an invite.
I can just basically harp on it. Sure, send me one.
I'd like to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, send me.
All mine are gone. Everybody asked for mine, so all mine are passed out.
I had a horrible experience yesterday with Office 365. They sent me a freebie to try. I mean, that thing just totally sucks.
Well, here's the kicker, though. You're going to need a Facebook account because you have to log in using Facebook.
Well, in that case, don't worry. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, somehow I figured you'd say that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm disappointed with it so far, but
no.
Hopefully Linda will join us. She's messing with Manycam and trying to get it fixed up. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we won't open it to the public until she gets in.
I can't anyway.
Okay.
I can only open it to. I've opened it to the circles. The normal people who have called in before, because I can't trust them on an on-air hangout. I don't want to get in trouble.
The usual suspects. That is a beautiful picture, Oleg.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've got to repost mine from the other day as well, which is about as good as that. But that's.
And this is from the phone camera, so it wasn't. It just. It's impossible to project the image with the camera because it's so small. I mean, when you come out to me, I was just standing on my porch, and you can see a little bit of the houses, the neighbors below, and it's just unbelievable. We have this amazing-looking sky filled with these clouds and all these different colors, and it's just
mind-blowing. We're ready to go.
Okay, sorry.
And testing 1 2 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. Test.
Test 1 2 3 4 5 6. This is microphone check. Checking the volume and the clarity of the microphone. I'm trained.
Ellen, we should start doing this.
Why? We'll still sound just as bad.
This is my Bruce voice and my microphone. Does it sound okay?
Yes, it does. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Testing my microphone as well. 1, 2, 3. I'm not trained in this. I don't know what happened to the camera if you see what I see, but I suddenly look pixelated extremely.
Yeah, the resolution on you is not so hot tonight.
Yeah.
Don't move, and it helps.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Test.
It has to redraw the screen when you move. So I'm going to mute myself until you ask me a question, okay?
Columbia or
Columbia, Missouri. Columbia, Missouri, KOMU TV8, the NBC affiliate in Columbia, Missouri.
Okay.
My
TV
sign
radio.
is Sagittarius.
Your favorite color is obviously chartreuse.
That's right.
There you go.
I live in a box. Hello, Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Google Plus Week. I'm Dan McDermott. It's been a busy, busy week. This is our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. So much news to talk about, lots of controversy, drama, the whole shebang. We're ready to deal with it. First, though, we've got a wonderful interview with Sarah Hill, who's a very prominent Google Plus user, largely because she began incorporating her Hangouts into her newscasts on KOMU TV8 in Columbia, Missouri. Joining me now, Sarah Hill. Thanks so much. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening.
Oh, it's great, and it's great to be here in a hangout with familiar faces. So thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it, Dan.
Well, it's you know what? I screwed up. Hang on. I got to do it again. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
There we go.
Yeah, I crashed.
Check 1, 2.
I tried to mute Anthony and died.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Lots of news and controversy to talk about involving Google Plus and Google and technology and all that good stuff. We're going to get right into it with Oleg and Alan and the gang. But first, my interview with Sarah Hill. She's a fixture on Google Plus and at KOMU TV8 in Columbia, Missouri, where she's an anchor and she's a reporter, and also she's a member of the faculty at the Missouri at the school. What is it? The
Missouri School of Journalism, adjunct faculty,
Take
absolutely.
3. Oh my God. See?
You're making me feel at ease, though, because that's good.
Yeah, see? Contrary to what Oleg says, I'm not perfect.
We need a teleprompter here for you, Dan?
I know, but unfortunately I was going to use Obama's, but it got stolen in Richmond. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna lighten it. Here we go. This one's the gold. Here we go. Welcome, I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network, Google Plus. Lots of news and controversy to talk about this week. We're going to get into all that stuff. But first, I'd like to welcome for the first time to the show Sarah Hill, who is with KOMU TV8 in Columbia, Missouri. Sarah, it's so nice of you to join us this evening.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. It's great to be here in a hangout with so many familiar faces. So it's great to meet you guys, and
all
look forward to talking with you.
Now, I know that you have adopted Hangouts early on in your newscast. Let me just, before we begin, I'll just do a quick thing. What you do is you have a laptop on your desk, and you do a Hangout during the news, which you anchor. It's an NBC station in Columbia, and folks can watch the Hangout, and you talk to them in the commercial breaks. And it's funny because I've seen you. I think I watched one the other day, and you screwed something up, and then as soon as they went to the package or the weatherman or whatever it was, you're like, oh man, I messed that up. And they were joking with you, so it's a way for you to interact. I know you've said that, to interact with your viewers. So first question is, what prompted you, where'd you get this wonderful, crazy idea to incorporate Hangouts into a newscast?
Well, it started back in July when we first got on Google+. My social media director at KOMU, Jen Reeves, said, hey, you should check out this Google+ thing. I'll send you an invite. Learned about the Hangout feature and thought, you know what? People all over the world were showing each other's homes. You might remember this in the early days of Hangouts. They were showing what it was like behind the scenes of their karaoke shows and different things. And I thought, I wonder if anybody would be interested in what we do behind the scenes of the newscast. So got a loaner laptop from the journalism school, and early on borrowed one from my managing editor, opened it up, and the world flooded in, essentially. And it was just kind of by accident, and never really had any idea that it would be so popular or people would be interested in talking with someone during the newscast. But that was back in July. Fast forward, 6 months or so since we've been doing this, and now we have our Hangout on the air every day during our 11 a.m. Central newscast called U-News. And essentially what we do is display the Hangout in a 50-inch touchscreen monitor, and we host the show. We co-host the show with these individuals and talk with them live on the air about the day's news. And essentially that's what it is. It's a conversation about you and today's news, and we're bringing in people from all over the world to do just that. And it's been a phenomenal experience to be reading at the same time and also to talking to the people, your audience. I mean, really for the first time, this is the first time we've ever really been able to see our audience and hear them interact in real time. I wear 2 earpieces. I could have used 3 yesterday, but we had our producer in one ear, and we have the Hangout in the other ear. So as we're reading, we're hearing the audience reactions to what we're reading, whether that be a child that's murdered or a funny story or anything like that. And to me, that was a really eye-opening experience, one that I had never received before. I mean, we tweet, we G+ post, we Facebook post with our viewers behind the scenes of the news, but to be able to see them and hear them in real time was a totally another endeavor.
That's interesting. So you're listening. I figured you'd be pulling your earpiece in and out. I know you have like the regular on-air thing, so they can talk to you. But so you're listening the whole time?
Not the whole time, but a large amount of the time. In fact, one of the early days, we had a group, Hangout group, sing "We Are Family" in French while I was reading the news, and that was kind of fun to try to focus on that while you have them singing, all these people from all over the world singing "We Are Family" in your ear. So I pull it out occasionally, but yeah, I'm listening to them and talking with them during the sound bites, during the commercials.
Do they ever crack you up during the news?
Yes, they do, all the time. We'll be reading the news, and you'll look over, and there's a guy making tacos. Reading the news, look over, and there's a guy out on his swimming pool doing flips, and then asking, give us numbers. Was that good? Was that 10? Was that an 8? Essentially, you're in wherever space they are, and we are in their space. So it's a really unique way to bring people into the conversation and to meet people really from all over the world. We have someone named Robert Reddle, and he kind of described it as the news campfire. And really, that's a little bit how it is. People are gathering around a common space to consume information and also have a conversation about the day's news.
I'm going to bring a couple others to ask you a couple questions, but I'm going to get Alan and Oleg and Linda's joined us. But let me ask you this: tell us about your teaching role. And tell us about the relationship. This is, I guess, the only. I know there are other stations, like in Winchester, Virginia. There's TV3. It's a commercial station, and it's near and has a relationship with the university, but it's not actually owned or operated by the university. They just sort of. Both sides benefit, obviously. One side gets a good labor pool, and the other side gets to have kids, learning in a real TV station. You've taken it a step further. I guess the university actually owns the station, but it's the only one in the country that's commercial. It's an NBC affiliate, so those kids are able to play roles. I mean, they're professionals like you, and they're also students involved, and they're actually competing with other commercial stations. It's not your typical college station. It's a real, not to diminish the other ones, but it's really a competitive station that has to compete in the ratings and so on. So the pressure's on, and the job responsibilities are exactly like what you'd see at a non-affiliated, non-university affiliated TV station. So tell us about your teaching role and about how that works with the station.
Yeah. All of the on-air staff here also has an adjunct teaching component as well. And so essentially we are doing our jobs alongside students. We are teaching and we are learning. As we say, we are driving the bus and teaching others to drive the bus at the same time. So it's the only one in the world, the only commercial television affiliate in the world that's affiliated with the university. So we have a lot of people globally who come to study here. Some people who don't even have a free press in their country, and they come to study here. So they are facing real deadlines. They make real mistakes. And it's a great learning experience because when they leave here, they not only learn how to do one job, but they learn how to do all of the jobs. They are shooting, they are reporting, they are producing the newscast, they are producing Hangouts. That's another job in the future, a Hangout producer. They are learning how to write, how to edit, how to promote their stories on all different platforms. So it's a really unique program in that when they leave here, they don't have to go do an internship somewhere for a couple years in order to learn their skills or do their skills at a real area. They leave here with 2 and sometimes 4 years under their belt at a commercial television station.
That's great. That's amazing. And any funny stories or crazy things that have happened because of the Hangout? Or anything memorable that comes to mind that you're allowed to see on the TV?
Oh yeah, well, just like you say, with all the funny things that happened today, I had a coughing fit, and so, the Hangout found that amusing that I during the commercials was coughing and had a cough drop. But just all the funny things that happen off camera with what people are cooking or saying. We have a secret word competition that we do where the Hangout came up with this game where they give me a word and I then try to work it into the newscast or work it into the scripts. And so we keep score, and essentially they'll give me a crazy word like cornucopia or something like that, and they're like, your next word's kind of cornucopia, and I have to work it into the newscast. So we kind of play fun games like that, and makes the newscast go by so much more quickly and really enriches our on-air 11 a.m. newscast with bringing those voices into the conversation that really deserve to be there.
Okay, and last question from me, and then I'm going to throw it to some other folks. You had somebody from Finland ask you, another TV station. I guess currently that we know of, there are 4 TV stations that are doing what you do, incorporating a live Hangout during the news. And I guess tell us about the Finland station and what you think the future of this is. I can't imagine. I mean, there was a day when there were only 4 stations using Twitter, 4 stations that had a Facebook page or Google Plus page. This is going to become the norm, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Essentially what this is and how I describe it is a satellite truck in the middle of a crowdsourcing tool for television stations. So no longer do we have to have, an expensive truck in order to go live. Our viewers are able to go live with us. Not only go live with us, but all of that happens within a crowdsourcing tool. A lot of people say, what is the difference between Hangouts and Skype? Well, Skype is fine for one-on-one, and you can even do group Skype. But the problem is finding these individuals. The global connection that we are seeing in this Hangout culture really, revolutionized this space. You have the ability to find people on any different subject matter and enable them to go live. In the future, television stations, and we're already doing this, in breaking news situations. Say there's a traffic stopped on a bridge somewhere. No longer do we have to send a reporter out in time for them, to get there to do a live shot and report on the situation. We can tell our viewers, hey, go on the side of the road. We've opened a Hangout. Join our Hangout live and tell us what you're experiencing. We had a very deadly tornado in Joplin, Missouri, in the state of Missouri, killed 160 people, one of the most deadly tornadoes in history. And it was in May. Google Plus came on the scene in July. But had we had that opportunity to bring viewers in from their backyards and describe for us what they are seeing in their backyards, the tool is so valuable, and we're just excited about its future in that respect.
Yeah, it's incredible content. You can be in 9 places at once in your Hangout. And have you ever had someone, now they could join a Hangout mobile, not a Hangout, I don't know if they could do this, but they could literally have join with their mobile phone. And, I could be like, here's the burning building, and you guys, haven't gotten your SAT truck out yet. Or it's like you said, a hurricane thing where no station would have enough crew, and they could sit there and basically feed you live video, and you're getting content from more places than you could logistically handle.
Right. We have people from Australia going live with us now during at a zoo with kangaroos in the background. People out on boats. People in their cars. The potential of this space, because it happens within a social network, the world's first face-to-face social network, by the way, makes it a really exciting ground for TV stations to explore this, not only to bring viewers into the conversation during a newscast and peel back that mystery curtain that we call journalism and say, hey, you know what? this is what we do, and you are going to see us do it, but enable them to bring their content and their stories into us live in real time. Today during our newscast, there was a sentencing that was going on with Jordan Vandersloot, and we had one of our viewers in our Hangout who was listening to the sentencing, and he reported that to us live in the Hangout. The potential of this space is just beginning, and I'm really excited about it.
It really is the ultimate democratization of, I mean, this is the First Amendment in action. This is awesome, and it's so neat for you to get reaction and to really have a more fun newscast and interactive. And okay, so let me throw it to Alan. Alan Priz, Alan Furstenberg. This is kind of neat, isn't it?
I think it's incredible, and I wanted to welcome you to the show. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
I think one of the questions that I have as a technologist is along the lines of, if you could blue sky, if you could just say, here is exactly what I want to see next from this kind of technology, whatever you want, what would it be? Where do you see it going? What tools do you want to help you do your job better?
How long do you got? I could go on for hours on the potential of this space. The ability to broadcast only to certain circles, because essentially that is certain channels. And this, in the future, I really see this as becoming a broadcast platform, and it already is a broadcast platform. Look at all the news shows. Look at all the variety shows. I was in a game show hangout last week. There's another one going on right now. These are the early days of G+ programming, essentially, and I find that very exciting. As far as other things that we could use, the ability to bring in our video or television signal within that hangout, so our viewers wouldn't have to go to a separate page in order to see our streaming newscast. The ability to, within the hangout, chat with viewers inside and outside the hangout. Right now we're using 3 different windows, and that when you're inside the hangout, yes, you have the chat window, but there are also people outside the hangout who are chatting underneath that on-air icon with you, and so we're going back and forth and chatting in 2 different places. It would be great if there was some kind of chat embedded within that hangout. We use Scribble It Live on our streaming newscast page, and something like that was embedded, that you could chat with people both inside and outside the newscast. The ability to change the color of the backgrounds on the Hangouts. White is problematic for us because it shuts down the iris on our studio camera. We are essentially displaying the Hangout in a 50-inch touchscreen, shooting it with the studio camera. So when that studio camera sees white, the iris shuts down a little bit and it darkens some of our faces. So maybe the ability to change some of that color in the background. That's just a taste of some of the things.
And that's just the beginning of what you want.
Yeah,
and a
absolutely.
lot of those things we asked for, by the way. Yours are unique. I have some unique things and you have some unique things because we both do shows using Hangouts. And essentially, we talked last week about the migration from Hangouts, which began as a fun way to socially interact, and then have migrated to use in a professional way like this. Oleg, is Oleg? Oh, there he is. Oleg, isn't this cool? This is neat. What are your thoughts?
No, it's very, very interesting. And I was just wondering a couple of things, just from personal interest standpoint. Sarah mentioned that she's got 2 earpieces going at the same time sometime.
3. I used 3 yesterday because we had a double hangout, and that's something else that would be helpful, at least for us right now. You're only able to be in one hangout at a time, or start one hangout. So I had to get a G+ body double yesterday because I needed to put a hangout on the air from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, but we also had a snowstorm in mid-Missouri, and I needed my mid-Missouri viewers in that hangout to talk about the snow and how much snow they had received. So I had 2 different earpieces in one ear, essentially talking to both of these hangouts. So I enlisted Jen Reeves to be my G+ body double, and we used her profile account. And I'm sure some of that, once brand pages, possibly in the future get hangouts, that might enable us to do some different things. But there are times, and I can see here even in the future, when we are going to use in the political season 3, 4 hangouts on different devices and bring that in. And I totally forgot your question, Oleg. What was
That's
it?
okay. You already pretty much answered it. I was just going to say you must be a poster woman for multitasking because it's amazing how you can.
It is.
Exactly.
I was joking with someone the other day that I could use a third ear sometimes because you have all of these voices going on in your head. But as we're teaching our students, you kind of have to become comfortable in the chaos and floating between all of these different platforms. And essentially, you can have 11 different people in your ear during the news while you're trying to talk. To me, that's music in a way because it's really neat to meet these individuals and talk with them, but you do have to become comfortable in the chaos.
Do you find that having just 9 additional people is a limitation, or is that sufficient?
For some purposes, like for breaking news, obviously, for what people are seeing, but for our regular, 30-minute newscast that we're doing, the more the merrier. And chat brings in, obviously, even additional viewers, chat outside the Hangout, which who knows in the future might be inside the Hangout. But for our purposes, 10 works. But the ability to have more would be, obviously great in a breaking news situation.
Okay. Let me go to David. I think David Cheney. Let me see here. Let me get him up here. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't typically watch my local news, but if they were doing something cool like this, I definitely would. I think it's really, you're probably one of the first, to do something like this, and you're completely dead on that this is, I think, going to be, a big broadcast platform in the future, and this is, the start of something pretty big. So, if only thing, I hope that, in my local market, they do something like this too.
And that's what we hear from people all over. That's the first thing they say. They say, oh, I wish that I were able to connect with my television news anchor in that way. Essentially, this is giving eyes to social media. All of our other platforms were blind, tweeting blind, Facebooking blind. But now we are able to see you guys during the news, and it is very rewarding experience, not only for the broadcast, to have that additional voice and that additional facts. And hey, have you seen this news story? And Harold Carey posting links in the chat. Have you seen this? It's just been a really great experience to meet so many talented individuals who taught us a lot about this platform. Because let's face it, we are a small market news operation. We don't have a large staff. We do have a lot of students helping us, but our news director was quick to put just one anchor and one producer on this program because he wanted it to be a model for other stations to be able to replicate. So essentially that's the goal in order to try to help other TV stations to learn how to do this, learn how to do Hangouts and bring viewers into the conversation.
It is interesting that you're the only commercial TV station owned by a university, and you happen to be where this all started. You are teaching other stations how to do it, and I think that's neat. I guess all y'all, you're going to get a lot of calls. So be ready.
We are getting a lot of calls, and one of the first things that I do with people who first come on the platform, who are with television stations, is I share my circle. I call it my FCC approved circle of individuals who are obviously respectful. There are wonderful people on this platform, but individuals who wouldn't give you an FCC violation on the air. So that's the first thing that I do, because that's the biggest struggle, is going to be the biggest struggle for television news stations if they try to replicate something like UNews, is their local market might not be on Google Plus as much yet, so they will need to bring in individuals who are and who can help them teach about the platform. We're in a rural area, by the way, so not everybody has webcams. Not everybody has high-speed internet. So we got a grant from the Reynolds Journalism Institute, and we've essentially webcammed our 14-county viewing area. We put webcams in all of our libraries. So we tell people, even if you don't have internet access, even if you don't have a webcam, you can still go to your local library and hang out with us during the news. You can still go to your local library and share your community service event with us. So that's one way that we're trying to get around the digital gap, at least in our area.
Okay, let me throw it to Linda Laurie. Let's get her over here. What do you think, Linda? You should be unmuted. Let's see if we can get her.
Linda is speechless.
I wonder if Linda's there. Her picture's there. She looks like she's relaxing.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. I'll wait for Linda. I think she's. All right, what do you think, Harold? This is cool. I know, Harold. You've every time I've seen, or every other time I've checked her out because I was scoping Sarah out over the week, watching her hangouts to kind of get an idea of what exactly is going on. And I've seen you in there often. What's your experience been?
Oh, it's really a lot of fun to get in there. What we want to do though is Sarah requests that we basically come on like about every other week because we like to have a lot of faces. What's really interesting is she has 2 people from Missouri and 2 people from around the world, and that's the perfect group for a hangout. It's just 4 people, because if you have more than that, it's really hard to handle.
Mm-hmm. Some of the other things too, Dan, is as far as stories. You know, you think of the Penn State riots. Some of you may have watched that unfold on Twitter. When that was unfolding in the newsroom, a lot of us were like, guys, don't just be live tweeting about it. You need to be live hanging on this. Somebody open up a hangout and show us what you were seeing with the Penn State riots. So we've used hangouts in the Penn State riots. We used hangouts in the aftermath of the Oslo bombing. I mean, here we are, a local television affiliate, bringing in viewers around the world to talk about what happened in the aftermath of the Oslo bombing, and that was a really interesting experience for us. We've talked with people about the National Defense Authorization Act. Next week we're having a debate about SOPA. I mean, the potential of this space, especially on a local level that doesn't have a lot of you know, resources, satellite trucks around the world, those kinds of things. Essentially, you know, hangouts make the world your oyster.
Okay, let me bring Linda in. Linda, what are your thoughts, or question, or what have you?
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're
Can
good.
you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. I just had a question for Sarah. That's kind of a strange question. When you were when you put up that you were going to interview Sarah tonight, of course I reshared the post, and I don't know if Sarah gets this or not, but I got it on my share of your interview with her. I got, you know, and of course her picture was showing on it, and it said, "Nice pic, hot," you know, and and you know, several comments I thought were really not appropriate for what I was sharing. Sarah, do you have to put up with that much personally?
Yeah, I do. And matter of fact,
on Google Plus, I mean.
Yeah, and some of the posts are actually quite funny because I think something gets lost in the translation, in the international translation. For instance, one of the posts said, "You love me." And I know that translates differently in their country. They're talking about a different kind of love. But sometimes I just +1 those posts because I think they're funny. I'm actually keeping a list. I am, of some of the funny posts that you get in that respect. But one of the most rewarding things in this space is meeting people from around the world. You know. And that's been so fascinating to see in their homes and meet their children and just get a global view, if you will. I mean, what Hangouts are doing are essentially reducing the global space between us. And that's been the best part about this is that international interaction. Yeah, sometimes we do get some of those funny posts, but it's been great to meet people outside of mid-Missouri in Hangouts.
All right. Awesome. This is a great
conversation. I was kind of embarrassed when I shared the post.
Go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry.
Go right ahead. No, I was just going to say I was kind of embarrassed when I reshared your post and I had all these little comments and I thought, oh gosh, I hope Sarah doesn't see this. Should I remove them? Should I leave them? Because they were all about her picture, and she is cute, you know. But it was like that's not the purpose of my sharing this. So anyway, that's the reason I asked.
Linda, I looked at her page to kind, you know, when I was doing my prep, right? And I was, you know, I guess the term Facebook stalking, you can say Google Plus stalking her, right, to get ready for the show. And both of you two are on the recommended list. So you each have, I think, Sarah, you've got like 370,000, and Linda, you're over 400,000. that's good and bad. It's good exposure, but it's bad in that you get mass appeal from folks, spam accounts, the whole deal. But the thing is, hey, let me go ahead, Robert. Can you mute your mic for me? And if you want to speak, go ahead and unmute it. You'll be good. But the thing is, I saw that on her page as well. You'd see like the hi and all that stuff. I gotta mute this. But you see like the hi or and la, love you, blah blah blah, and all these random things. But I guess that's the thing that she has to deal with too. So it was nothing out of the ordinary because I see it on her page. And it's like, how many hours a day do you have to deal with that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's drinking from a fire hose. But too, the experience for people outside of this country. I mean, we've traveled to do documentaries in Guatemala and Vietnam, and their connection with a local news anchor, they would not have the ability to do that. So on this space, for them to be able to plus post or to hop in a hangout with their local news anchor is kind of a unique experience for them. So I don't always answer all of those hi, but sometimes I do, just because you never know when you say hi back what kind of really interesting individual that you might encounter.
and that could be a good or bad interesting, I suppose.
Absolutely.
That's the life of a famous TV reporter and teacher. Okay, well, what I want to do is Sarah's going to stick around with us a little bit, and we're going to talk about some Google Plus topics and some Google topics. It's kind of the first topic is the biggest news story, probably the most mainstream news story about Google Plus since its launch, and that is Google has changed their beloved search engine, and now they're including Google Plus results in regular Google.com searches. So to give us kind of a brief rundown about what exactly it is, what it means, I'm gonna mute Linda real quick. I'm sorry, Linda. You can unmute yourself whenever. I think your earpieces or microphone's clicking a little bit. But let's go to Alan, and Alan, give me kind of a brief explanation of what exactly this means and what happened.
This is probably the biggest change to Google since Google itself started. What they're doing now is they've launched something called Search Plus Your World. And with Search Plus Your World, what happens, if you are logged in to Google, and if you have not opted out of it, any search result that you do adds additional social information to the search results. So it will not only search the web for what you're looking for, but it's also going to search all of your past posts on something like Google+. It'll search all of your friends' past posts. It'll search your and your friends' pictures. It'll use the social graph that you've created to help supplement that information. In addition to this, it will use public profile information, other public Google+ information, and all of this gets put into the mix of your search results now. It's a major change, it's a radical change, and it's gotten some others, like little birdie told me that Twitter isn't very happy about this. And the biggest reason why Twitter's not happy is because it does not return Twitter results as a first-class result. And there are a lot of reasons for that, and I have a feeling Oleg and I are going to start getting into issues about that.
All right, before I throw it to Oleg, we got some other subcategories of this. Tell me, you think this is a wonderful thing or a awful thing or somewhere in between?
I think it's somewhere in between. I think Google doing it, this is important. What Google has said they wanted to do is they want to index the entire world. And indexing what people talk about and how they talk about it is important. I think also it's important to realize that what this is doing is searching your world. It's going back and letting you find things that you've talked about, that you had interest in, that your friends had interest in. So you can now much more easily say, hey, Oleg talked about this last week. I kind of remember it. Let me do a search and find it again. And this is going to let you do it. I think the problem is that it's not really indexing the whole world. It's not going to be finding the Facebook posts. It's not going to be finding the tweets out there yet. And until it does, there's going to be this perception that that Google isn't really, doing what they say they're doing, and that's indexing the whole web. But I think it's a major step. It's going to be tough for anybody else to pull it off at this level. I think it's a real coup for Google.
Okay, now I know clearly Twitter and Facebook are probably not amused with this whole thing. I know Twitter complained about it, and then Google pointed out that the reason that Twitter is not included is Twitter's doing, according to Google. Is this fair, Oleg?
Well, first, I would say that my feeling is that I think it's a great thing that they're doing, and I think that people are making way too much, way too many arguments over nothing, basically, as far as I'm concerned. Because you do have a choice. You can still look at the old results the way you looked at them before. It's not like you have to look at this new thing or else. So it's just one click, and you're looking at the usual Google results. So from that standpoint, there's nothing wrong with that.
And let me say quickly, I fully agree with Oleg on this point. One of the brilliant things that Google did is that they didn't switch off the old search. In many ways, the old search is still there, it's still powerful, and you can still very easily get to it.
Yeah. And so, basically what these companies, by, jumping up and down and yelling and threatening to bring, the government into it, to do antitrust and all of that, it's just because they can see how powerful this actually is and how useful it is for people, because people will use it. I mean, people use things like Yelp. I mean, one of the complaints was before you used to do a search for a restaurant and Yelp results will come up. Now they won't. Well, if you really think about it, if Sarah is my friend, I don't want to have some Yahoo putting some comment about a restaurant when I have Sarah, who is my friend, whom I trust a lot more than somebody from the street. So to me, it's a lot more relevant to get the results that Google right now is supplying using this new search. And I think that's what scares them, because they understand the value of it for most people, because there's different, we went from having results showing social proof, so to speak, from other people making comments about something, but you don't have any idea who these people are. And so if you read some books on the subject of influence and this and that, they all tell you that it has a big part. I mean, if somebody says that it's good to go see Star Wars, then we tend to believe it at first, that it's good to go see Star Wars, just the way human nature is. They're taking it to the next step. They're saying, don't just look at other people saying that Star Wars is good. Look at your friends and see what they're saying. So to me, it's definitely a step in totally the right direction, how people usually interact. You usually don't come to a stranger on the street, ask him a question about something important to you. You would ask your friend typically. And that's exactly what they're bringing to the table.
Okay, in a second.
Obviously are running scared because Google has search, plus they have the social component. The other people have social component, and they have no search like Google does. And that's what scares them. And that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Okay.
I personally think it's a phenomenal thing they're doing. There's another thing that's falling into play is the SEO part. In other words, before people used to do all kinds of things to be able to tweak their results. They would come up towards the top of the page on Google, so they would get more traffic and they would sell more of their trinkets or whatever it is they're trying to do. Now this thing dynamically changes, not dynamically, but it completely changes, wrong word there, sorry, how this is going to play out, because the SEO of yesterday is basically gone today. And the content, the way it's being generated, is much more the way Google wanted it to be perceived. They don't want people screwing around and trying to make things come up at the top of the search engine just so people can see them. They want it to be as relevant as possible. So when you search for stuff, you actually get relevant results. And that's why I think they're making major move in the right direction. And that's why I think, it's clear to me why all these people are belly aching, because they cannot match them, is the bottom line. They cannot create their own search engine to go with their social stuff, and Google created both, basically. And so that's my feeling on the subject.
Okay, let me ask Sarah.
Well,
hang on one second.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Alan, go ahead.
No, Oleg said something very important right at the end there. He said they cannot create their own search engine. And I think what's even more important to realize, and why the people are worried and complaining, is that it's not only just that they can't create their own search engine, but even if Twitter and Facebook and Microsoft all teamed up together and merged all their forces, they still would not be able to overcome what Google has done here. Exactly. And that's what has them worried, but that also what has them thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe this was unfair leveraging of their dominant position.
Okay. All right. Before Oleg responds, let's get Sarah. Sarah, tell me what did you think initially? You can weigh in on any of these aspects of it, but just generally, this was a big deal, right? As Joe Biden would say, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal, and in fact, since we're on all the different platforms, you got one story from the people who are reacting to that on Google Plus, and the other ones, obviously, there was a huge backlash from people on Twitter. But from what I have seen, a little bit of what they are lobbying for, but isn't there an ability to turn that off?
Well, that's a whole thing there, and Alan or one of these guys, because we're going to get into that when we talk about what Danny Sullivan said at Search Engine Land. Really, really great guy. Ironically, the guy that Google linked to when they first responded to Twitter. His article saying that Twitter had, closed the pipe because they want to double the money, blah blah blah, and they doubled the money to $30 million a year. Plus, they wanted a cut of the ad revenue. So yeah, that's a whole thing. It's interesting. Okay, let me ask Anthony. I know you wanted to weigh in on the Twitter angle of this whole thing. What do you think, Anthony?
You see, I don't understand why Twitter is so upset about this because months and months ago, Microsoft had a deal in place with Twitter that they would get their quote unquote fire hose feed of Twitter, and so Microsoft would include those results in the search engine. And Google wanted to be part of it, but they couldn't work out a deal, and then finally they did. And this summer, that deal expired, and Google didn't renew the deal because they had their own social network, and they didn't want to pay for these new results.
Anyway, all right.
So I bet, and this is just my opinion, but I bet if Twitter didn't want to charge Google so much money to provide the fire hose, that Google would be inclined to include those results. So, Twitter's going, we want you to include our results, but we want you to pay for them. And Google's going, well, no, why should we pay for them when we have our own results from our own social network that we don't have to pay a penny for?
Okay, sorry. Okay, I would say this is obviously a group of people who are big Google Plus users, and probably at the expense of some other networks, right? Facebook and Twitter. I still use Twitter and Facebook, but I use them less than I used to. I was never a big Twitter user, but I have a few people, key people like Larry Sabato, the UVA political science professor, and CNN Breaking News that I follow on Twitter, and I send them directly to my phone. So if something happens, I want it. And Drudge Report, it sends right to my phone. So I want to stay abreast of things that are going on. Often just because if I get the question, I know about it. But let me ask Pam. Not everyone's sold on this. Pam, I know you're a big Google Plus fan, but you're not necessarily all, jumping through hoops over this idea. Explain.
When I use the search, I want to search. Am I too loud?
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. I want world results. I don't want what Oleg likes, because I'm following him on Google Plus or whatever. I use Google Search because I want the science news of the day, or I need to look up a specific thing for work, and I need real results. I don't want to be cluttered with like local results and all that stuff. I find that very irritating, actually.
All right. Well, this is the whole thing and this brings up the one of the two articles that we referenced, Alan, from Danny Sullivan, that you really can't cut it off totally, correct?
Well,
it's
two things.
It's on or sort of off, however.
First, let me discuss this with Pam a little bit. I think one of the things is that if we're doing one of the things that I find when I'm doing technical work is the first thing that I've done for years is turn to my friends and say, hey, have any of you done the same sort of thing?
Absolutely.
Or when we're in a professional network, one of the first things we'll do is turn to our professional colleagues and say,
Alan, we lost you.
Hey, this is what I'm working on, and this is my problem. What sorts of things have you seen? And I think in that context, this is something that can definitely benefit us, because now instead of looking through a list of 10 pages and going, gee, which of these are really reputable and then which of these are really fake and providing me bad information, or, you know, having to use some other means, one of the means that I can now use to factor it in is to say, oh, hey, Oleg talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I trust Oleg. Or Oleg talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I know he's full of it on this subject. So it's a factor that we can now bring into the whole thing. Is this going to replace the global search? No, it isn't, and I wouldn't want it to. And to Google's credit, they've made it so that it doesn't. It supplements it, and I think that supplement is what's really important here. Do I understand your concerns? I absolutely understand your concerns, but I think Google has approached it in the right way to try to address those concerns as well.
I think first of all, what is this, beat up on Oleg night or something?
It's always beat up on Oleg night.
Every night.
First thing I was going to say, Pam, you got to remember, you're only one click away from the other results. Okay? I think the reason Google turned it on by default, because you can argue about that, should it be by default on or off? And that's definitely debatable. But I think the reason they did it is to give it a better chance for people to try it, because if they had it off initially, it would be a much smaller group of people that would try it, as opposed to this way, where you actually have to opt out by a single click. I mean, it's not like it's a huge deal to do. So you can still get everything you want, and if you don't want to see my results, then number one, you certainly don't have to follow me. I mean, the fact that you see my results is because you followed me. So, and that's something that nobody's bending your hand to do that. So that's one way you can eliminate me by just not following me. Second deal is you can use this other approach where you just say, I want to look at global stuff. I don't care what my friends say. And I totally agree with Alan. I mean, I'm also an IT guy. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and you do talk to your colleagues and stuff. And yeah, I would pay much more attention to you, who is my friend, telling me about a new movie I'm thinking of going to take the kids to, than to some guy on the street who I've never seen or met, and I just see his 4 stars, or 2 stars, or 1 star. It's a perfect situation. I'll tell you why. I was watching Bill O'Reilly the other day on the news, and he, at the end of his show, he always reads emails from some people. And he was talking about this, there was a particular thing that had to do with Newt Gingrich, and so he reads one email that says, you're a shill for Newt. That was the email, okay? And then he turns around and reads the next email, and the next email says, I cannot believe that you're dissing Newt to this degree. So here's a perfect example. The guy had one show, he said the same things, and you got a complete polar opposites of how people reacted to it. Some things he is in for the guy, the other people think that he's totally opposed to the guy. And that's the usual human deal. So the question becomes, who do you believe? And that's why I think this is such a positive thing, because you get to deal with people you actually believe. They may be wrong, like Alan said. He could read something I said, and I could be totally wrong, and that's fine. I mean, it's obviously his decision. In the end, it's your decision. But it's nice to be able to have this choice, and that's what Google is giving you.
Oleg, we had one comment that I got to read you from one of the chat rooms, the Justin TV chat room. Oleg is great. Agree with him. And funny about selling trinkets. So that's what they took away from your argument. That's funny. That's an awesome comment. All right, let me get Sarah. You had some
I was just going to say, this is
off.
Yeah, and here's how you do it. This is from the Washington Post, but so for those specific searches, you turn off the personalization by hitting the globe icon at the toggle switch that appears on every search page. And if you want to disable the feature permanently, head to the search settings menu under the cog icon that appears in the upper right-hand corner of your window. And in the search results menu, scroll down to personal results and click do not use personal results. So that's how to disable it permanently.
Here's where the problem is with this thing that nobody much talked about, from what I've heard, is this Danny Salomon guy, who's a very prominent, known guy in the, on the internet. He's got his search engine blogs and stuff. He's a very known guy. He had an interview with Schmidt himself, and he talked about the deal with Twitter and Facebook, and Schmidt told him right there on camera, but everybody's seeing, that if they want to come to the table and they want to play ball, Google is more than willing to play ball. So that's what the guy said.
To be honest, that's a disingenuous statement.
No, hold on.
We're talking Eric Schmidt here. Eric Schmidt has lied to us over and over again about Google Plus.
Alan, hold on. Let's assume.
What are you talking?
He's lying.
Whoa. Hold on. Elaborate on that, Briz. What are you talking about? You're saying that Eric Schmidt's lied to us?
We're not talking about Eric Schmidt's deal. We're talking about this specific comment.
Let's talk about. Let's finish up with Oleg.
No. You can't say that and leave it. You know, he's generally a liar, and then like, well, we're not going to elaborate on that.
I'm saying he's been disingenuous about Google Plus. He's been disingenuous about the role of Google Plus.
Several occasions. About what?
Well, let's say, what name do you see when you look at my profile on Google Plus? You see Alan Furstenberg, and how many times has Eric said to us over and over, "Oh yeah, the pseudonyms are coming." Over and over again.
That's intent. I mean, that's not a lie. You can't.
Because your name is Alan Furstenberg, so let's just stick with that.
I'm going to get banned from Google.
What I was saying was this.
Like Twitter.
He said that they're willing to play ball. The bigger question that not too many people are talking about is the privacy implications from Facebook. For example, can Facebook and Twitter not get under fire themselves by completely opening their stuff up to Google+? And I think that's one of the things that people are just, I already mentioned why I think Twitter and Facebook are all tied in a knot over this. But the bigger question, I think, or just as big, is let's say they did want to play ball. How would the public react to them opening their hose to Google+ and getting all this private information out that way? And how does it impact their terms of service and all that kind of stuff? So I think there are some implications that people are not really talking about why Facebook cannot do what theoretically everybody would like to see it done.
The problem, though, is, and what Danny Sullivan has pointed out in some of his most recent posts, is that Google has some of this information already.
Yeah, they do.
So for example, well, they have it, but they're not treating it the same way.
And why should they?
No. So for example, he's also pointed out that Bing treats it even worse in some cases. But Twitter, for example, highlighted the fact that, if you did a search for WWE, Google promoted it in several locations and promoted the Google Plus links, and Twitter's link doesn't clearly identify that it's the same organization as this website that came up, and it pushes it further down in the search list. So, and Google Plus's search result comes out right at the top. It comes out right on the side. It's clear that Google Plus is given a preferential social treatment, even though Google knows full well that this link is WWE's, that it's on Twitter, and that it is official. So the question then then the question is, if Google knows this, on one hand, they know it already. They know that Twitter is social, and one would think that it should be showing up in the social section. But on the other hand, here's Eric saying, oh, all they need to do is come to the table. Well, they don't need to come to the table. You already have the information. You already know that it's social. You should be treating it as such.
You show me one instance of Microsoft pushing Google as the search engine of choice instead of Bing. Show it to me where they're doing this.
But we're not talking about...
What we're talking about is the company pushing its own products.
Look at what Eric said. Eric Schmidt said, we can't do this because we can't get the fire hose. Well, it's not about the fire hose. Google already has the information. Google can't legitimately say that they're indexing the whole web and that they're going to be treating social fairly, and then not treat social fairly for something they already have. That's part of the issue.
They're pushing their own products, is what I'm saying. Okay? And I don't see anything wrong with
that. But that's not what Eric said. Look, what you just quoted Eric Schmidt as saying.
Sarah's about to leave. Sarah, can I ask you one quick question before you roll? I know you got a game show to go to, and you can probably
sure, absolutely.
You can win more money there than you can win on here, and I know I appreciate you being on the show. Just as a news reporter, do you think? I mean, is this going to be a deal? I mean, an antitrust type thing? Because you can argue pro or con here. When I look in the dictionary under monopoly, it says, the exclusive thing. Of course, there's Bing and there's Yahoo for people who still use Bing and Yahoo. But Google isn't a forced monopoly. No one's holding a gun to your head. You just know you're going to get the best results. Exactly. If McDonald's makes the best burger, they sell more burgers. So what do you think? Is this going to be trotted into? I'm sure it will be. But what do you think? Is this an abuse of a monopolistic power, or is this simply a company promoting its own products in the same way that if I started a second show, I'll promote it here, And if KOMU has a sports show on the weekends, they're going to promote it during the news. I mean, what's the point in building up a TV station if you can't use it to promote your TV shows, right? Isn't it the same thing?
You raise a really good point, and I think that having the ability to turn it off will probably be brought up in any pending litigation as well. But for now, a lot of in our talk in the newsroom, because we will have to get searches from all over. I mean, we'll search one way, but then permanently disable it probably because we'll need to get those, pull it in from everywhere. So as journalists, that's our plan of attack, and that's been our discussions in the newsroom probably about how we'll handle that.
Okay. Well, I want you to know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm headed to Craig Lukey's game show. Early days of programming on Google+, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Where does somebody find that? What's the link? Or
it's on Kim Beasley's, KIMBEASLEY. She's hosting the on-air hangout for Craig Lukey. So.
And does she do that like periodically so people can check that out?
On Friday nights.
Okay, cool.
People who like to hang out kind of go from different programs. There's comedians and all kinds of things. It's a hangout culture, let me tell you.
Okay, awesome. Well, Sarah, I want to thank you so much. We're going to keep moving the show. I know you got to get to this. Thank you so much. You were great, and I want you to know you definitely got the kid glove treatment from Alan and Oleg, and you were treated a lot nicer than they treat me sometimes or each other.
They can beat up on me in a hangout. They can join my hangout sometime and beat up with me.
Well, they'll probably pop up sometime, and you'll just like
very nice to meet you.
2 shades whiter as soon as they show up because you'll be worried they're going to catch you with a mistake or something. No, they're great guys. I always appreciate them being here. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to keep on with the show. I know you got to go. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you. Bye-bye. Thanks.
All right, so I guess, do we want to continue beating the search thing? I mean, any final comments on this thing? What do you guys want to do?
I think the first thing what I want to say is I don't think it will go to court. I hope it doesn't go to court.
Yeah,
but I think what a lot of people are really concerned about is here's Google who said their motto is don't be evil. Their motto is they want to index the entire world's knowledge, and here's an example where they're kind of backpedaling on both those points.
Go ahead, Oleg, and I would just say
the way I look at it
you can't create, litigate, right?
The way I look at it is when you say you want to index the whole world, this and that, you wind up kind of acting like in a monopolistic way. So, to some degree. I personally, I don't see that such a big problem because, it's very ambitious of them to want to do it, and they've done already a lot in that direction. And to me, they should not be punished for their successful investment of money and brain power and everything else to make things so much better than they used to be. They single-handedly have done it. Facebook hasn't done it. Twitter hasn't done it. But they have done it on many, many different levels. And to me, it's just basically pettiness on the part of the competitors of theirs to try to see whatever they can do. It's the old, everybody said how bad Microsoft would be because they would kill companies and they would undercut them with pricing and everything else. So, Microsoft is a bad company. They're doing the same baloney themselves right now by doing this supposedly, jump against Google. Because to me, what I totally disagree with Alan is if Schmidt, when he talked to the guy, if Facebook doesn't feel, if they think that he's pulling a fast one, they should publicly go out and say, okay, we're sitting at the table, okay? What do you want? And actually publicly put the guy in the corner. And if they did that, the guy wouldn't have any choice to either fess up or show himself to be a guy who is not really genuine. That's all. But they're not doing that. They're doing the song and dance thing, is what they're doing. They're trying to get government to step in to basically give them their competitive advantage. And I think it's
I've heard nobody say that. I've heard nobody call in the DOJ at this point. To be
there's so many people who wrote about this.
There's a lot of people that are making comparisons, but I've not heard I've not heard anybody officially say that the Justice Department should be looking at this.
Oh, it's so many. If you read this stuff, Alan, you see there's so many people talking about this. I'm sure they're going to be pushing for it. If Facebook could come out. If Facebook could come out with
the Obama campaign, so they're
covered. With a PR, remember that PR stunt that they did? They hired a company to smear Google when Google Plus came out. Remember that story?
There have been a lot of people smearing Google these days. I'm not entirely sure which one you're talking about.
When Google Plus came out, there was a story about this, and I'm just saying if they're capable of doing that, they're definitely going to be doing this. I don't have any doubt.
All right, before we move on, real quick, I just want to throw it to the room real quick. There was a scandal that happened with was it Kenya?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There was this scandal in Kenya, I think, where some company in Kenya had built up a local list of businesses, and apparently some Google employees or contractors were calling up local businesses and lying and saying that they had a partnership. In my opinion, I mean, you'd have to Google this because it's kind of complicated and tricky. It's on TechCrunch and all the other sites today. But in my opinion, nobody high up in Google, I mean, this was too stupid a low-level operation. I mean, only morons would try to get away with this on any kind of scale, right? This is nonsense, right? I mean, this is bad. And, they owe an apology and some money probably to the company, right?
Well, the first thing to find out what actually happened.
Yeah, my first reaction when I read this sounds like somebody using Google's name. And
exactly.
When more facts came out that it looked like it was actually being run by either Google Kenya or Google India, it's, the evidence is pretty damning. But to Google's credit, as soon as they learned about it, they came right out and said, we're going to find out the facts. And shortly afterwards, they say, well, it sure looks like something was going on, and we strongly condemn this. It sounds like Google's going to get to the bottom of it. But here's one thing. Here's one thing about Google that's really worrying when it comes to something like that. The top guys at Google like being micromanagers. They like being micro-informed. You've got to remember, I mean, Sergey is still involved in every single hiring decision.
No, I think it's Larry.
Alan, you're not suggesting that they look over the daily call list of Google Kenya, right?
I don't know. But, you got to, for a company like Google that is so micromanaged focused, you got to wonder and you got to worry. Do I think they were? No, I don't. Do I hope they were? No, I hope they weren't. Do I really think this was a local guy going rogue? Yeah, I do. But, man.
But that's part of the micromanagement. That's one of the things that prevents this from happening, is if you do micromanage, obviously they didn't get to this, but in theory you'd be able to protect from this from happening.
And Linda, we got an update today from a Google employee, right? Although he doesn't say he's from Google on his profile.
He doesn't, but if you look him up, he's in charge of Europe and developing countries, developing markets.
There was yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I reposted it, and I can't see anyone, and it was picked up on all the news wires online that there was an apology and an investigation, and I am reasonably sure that someone's going to lose their job over this. A lot of someone's that maybe they were on commission. I mean, I don't know why they did what they did, but I know that Google corporate wasn't aware this practice was taking place. They'll take the heat for it. The buck flows up, but still.
Yeah, this wasn't some slick operation. This was a stupid operation run by morons. And the saying, a big organization is only as weak, or is only as strong as its weakest link, being a moron. And I think that's the case here, because there's no way. I mean, this was just too sloppy and stupid.
Yeah, plus I think developing countries, I think, also makes a difference because Google. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're looking at what they're doing in the States or countries like Israel or countries like that, it's one thing. When you're talking about dealing in third world countries, and you're trying to put Google in place where many people don't even know how to spell the word computer, it's a total different ballgame. And corruption and everything over there.
Okay. I can't imagine what Google Chicago is up to. All right, let's see here. All right, let's see.
Click early, click often.
The next topic is about pseudonyms. I wonder who Oleg, do you have any suggestions on who I might call on?
Not changed. I still like calling Alan, and basically that's it.
All right, Priz, would you do the honors on this one? We'd appreciate it if you could fill us in on this topic. And we've got to move along now because we're running in overtime. Pseudonyms make better
We're always running in overtime. The quick summary here is Discus did a survey of their empirical data of comments that were actually posted to a variety of different social networks. And what they discovered was that people who used a pseudonym had better quality comments than people who used a real name. And there's a lot of speculation about
TechCrunch, because when Tech switched from Disqus, whatever, remember Disqus is competitive with Facebook comments. And Disqus am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. Oleg, you're the king pronouncer. Tell me.
Discuss. I think they meant to say like discuss.
Discuss. Okay. TechCrunch was using them, and then they switched to Facebook comments. And Arrington said that Leo Laporte's friend, Michael Arrington, he said that the reason they did it was it improved the quality of the comments because there was less of an opportunity for you to log in with some random Hotmail or Yahoo username, and you had to use a Facebook thing, and they were basically, capitalizing on Facebook's popularity and near universal adoption, and also Facebook's, pretty good filtering process to keep spam out. So they said that the quality of the comments and the trolling, it was just a big, uptick in quality overall. So if this data is coming from Discuss, I have to say they have a vested interest. It's like McDonald's saying that their burgers are better than, than Burger King's hamburgers based on the McDonald's study.
Pam asked a great question in the comments. She asked what rates the quality and what criteria were they using. The study which I linked, or sorry, the summary which I linked to in the show notes does cover it. They actually didn't just randomly go through it and say, oh, that sounds like a good comment, that sounds like a bad comment. These were comments that were rated by other people who were participating in the discussion, either by liking it or doing or its equivalent, the number of times the comment's replied to, as opposed to a number of times that a comment is deleted or flagged or otherwise marked against it. So these were not purely empirical.
It's hugely subjective, though. I totally agree with Pam. It's hugely subjective.
It's not hugely subjective. It's how other people that are participating within the conversation view it. And basically what it says is people who are using their real name would be, equally free to flame out and say garbage, and people who are pseudonyms have their own reputation to keep in mind.
But I think it's the other way around, actually. But okay.
No, it's not. That's the surprising thing, Oleg. And this is what I've been saying for, let's see, how many weeks have I been arguing?
No, and that's why I agree with Dan. I think basically I don't believe the study, that's all.
You've been arguing the pseudonym issue, Alan, since you got banned from Google+.
That's correct.
Around July or something. It's kind of a personal, but I think it was a bit over the top for you to say Eric Schmidt has lied several times because his forecast of a change in policy didn't occur.
Well, we'll say I went a bit over the top. Sure.
Saying next week we're going to go 90 minutes, we promise, no more, and then we actually go 100 minutes to say I lied. I mean, you
right, but here's the thing, Dan. Well, no, Dan.
You used to be able to get forgiveness in advance, but you can't lie in advance.
You want to go that argument? I mean, we could say that, you'll say next week I'm going to go I'm going to keep the show to 90 minutes, and every week you go to 2 hours. And you go to 2 hours.
But that's not a lie. That's maybe inaccurate, but it's not a lie.
Okay.
Dan is not saying it intentionally to mislead the public.
Well, here's the question: is what Eric Schmidt did intentional or not? And you have a valid point, and fine. Will I retract it? Sure. I'll say that Eric Schmidt has not seemingly lied to us at this point.
Because I think
is that better? Is that going to? Does that
help with the FCC and you? We always accept your apologies. It's okay.
I mean, I'm just saying. You said, and I can play it back, but I would have to.
I said it. I
said.
But Horowitz, you always said
Eric Schmidt has lied several times.
I will say.
I was like, whoa.
You're right. That's what I said.
Eric Schmidt could care two, beans about some pseudonym policy. He probably said what he thought. And
Dan, whoa.
What he thought was accurate.
Sorry,
no,
guys,
stop there.
Is it a contest shout louder, or what is this here?
Jens, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is this a contest who can shout louder?
We're rehearsing for the McLaughlin group, so I guess in a way it is.
Okay. It doesn't sound like a proper display, does it?
That's what we do. That's it's good for ratings, but
I think.
Go ahead, Jens.
No, I'm sorry. I think if you hang up on things like this, you're going to be 1.5 hours anyway. What I wanted to really say something about is that I agree with Pam about surveys like this being very, very subjective, and I don't really think it makes any difference if it's a pseudonym or if it's a real name commenter, because as everywhere in life, you have idiots and you have good people everywhere, and I think the real people commenter are going to leave as good comments as pseudonym people will, and the other way around. The only thing that I think you're going to maybe reduce with real names is the trolling. But I think the quality of the comments won't be influenced by it.
Yeah, I agree with Jens. Yeah, I think that'll be the same. But I would say that people do feel, at least I do, more free to say whatever if I'm not using my real name than if I did use the real name, and that's because of the peer situation. Because if I put in my real name and then I know Alan may see it, I may think differently about writing something than if Alan has no idea it's me. So I think
but that is normal rules of social interaction, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like Victor Andretta said once, there is a reason why not everything we've got in our head comes out of our mind. There is certain rules of communication and interaction in normal life, and I think these rules should apply for the virtual life too.
Okay, quick question.
It's sometimes not that you feel too free to say everything.
All right, quick question, and let's close this topic out. Or actually not on this topic. Jens, how are your language classes going? I know you're doing foreign languages using Google Hangouts. Is that working?
Well, I have to say that response up to now is rather poor, really. Nothing substantial has come out of it yet. I attribute that to several reasons discussed before on your show, Dan. I have very little possibilities really to advertise, though I'm now doing quite a lot of social media marketing, and I'm enjoying myself enormously with it because it's just my kind of marketing. It's more a pull than a push marketing, and I like that much better. I think with social media marketing, the client benefits as much of the marketing as the company does, and this is always very, very positive for everybody. But another problem might be that that I've up to now only offered one language pack. You know that I work with themed language packs. I've only offered up to now football, soccer language pack, which I'm now ignorant to a travel language pack, and I will extend over the next 2 or 3 weeks to at least 3 or 4 language packs more to give the clients more variety to choose from. Okay. But my main problem is still that I have very little tools to advertise on Google+, and since my business takes place purely on Google+, exclusively in Hangouts, that is a bit of a hindrance for me.
Check them out. It's Jens is a longtime caller for the show. It's coollanguageclasses.com, and I guess if you have a Google+ page, Cool Language Classes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay, check them out.
If you go to Google Language Classes, you'll get to the Google+ page. It's linked to the Google+ page.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, we're waiting for Alan to come back. Let's see. Our next thing is bigger video and window sharing.
So my classes don't get plugged. Jen's classes get plugged. My classes don't get plugged. Great.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Oleg. Tell me about your classes.
No, just kidding.
No, this is real. This is a real deal. You're doing classes.
I'm interested. What classes are you doing?
Yeah, you're doing free classes. Tell me about it, Oleg.
I was just doing a couple of things I started doing. I'm going to do them every week on Google Apps. Basically, some general classes. Excuse me, I'm under the weather here. And also doing specific. So, like last time we did a class on Gmail. This next Monday we're going to do a class on. Actually, last Wednesday I was doing Google Docs, word processing component. We're going to do one on spreadsheet. So just going through all the different Google apps and kind of walking through it, answering questions, and kind of gearing it a little bit more towards the business perspective, especially for small businesses, because a lot of people have no idea what kind of tools they have available, how efficient they could make their organizations by using these tools, and that's the objective, basically.
Okay.
That's very interesting. Can I find these classes through your profile, like?
Yeah, you can certainly go to my PCS page, and at the same time you can also I'm announcing it on that, and I'm announcing it on my own profile, and then on my own post stream, and also I have the calendar set up, Google Calendar, that shows which classes are going to be when, so you can it's a public calendar, so you can easily subscribe to it and then be reminded if you want or whatever. So yeah, it's all out there.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any more plugs? All right.
Anybody's got a book to sell?
yeah. My new my computer game from 1993 from MVP Software, Towers of Kublai Khan, still available on
eBay. Stole it from you.
No, they did. It's still on eBay, pirated versions of it. I actually bought one.
But Dan, for a second, let's go back to when I was arguing with Alan. You said you're running a couple of newspapers, right?
I 3 of them, yeah.
3. And do you promote at all your show in those newspapers?
Absolutely, I do.
Exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I whore them out 100%, and there's nothing wrong with that. If
Absolutely.
McDonald's open, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If I have this show, this is the original Google Plus web TV show, right? We can get, 4,000 a week on a good week, or 2,000 on a bad week, whatever. And that's not including live and unmeasurable statistics.
Right.
Just on YouTube alone, right? So if I do another show, like we're talking, you and I and Alan are talking about forming this other general tech show,
right.
Which may morph into something else to be announced. But absolutely, I'm going to whore this show out for that. Are you kidding me? Why not?
Yep, I totally agree. 100%.
I mean, what's the point? I've done this. I mean, I do this for free. I've got $10,000 in equipment. It's fun. I mean, the newspaper is where I make my money, right? This is my fun gig. I'm absolutely going to abuse and, like a true capitalist, maximize my ability to exploit this program to promote other programs. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, let me show you right there through the Hangout.
And if people don't like it, they can go to the game show or any other show, right?
Yep, exactly.
So,
But isn't that exactly what Google does with its new search? Isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
I think the new search is perfectly all right. I mean,
it's great. And if you don't like it, you can Bing stuff.
Exactly. I mean, what you said before, they're not abusing because they don't have a monopoly. There are other search engines, and if the clients, or Google's clients, or I should better say Google's end users, don't like the new search, it can backfire. And suddenly they're not the biggest search engine anymore, and have much less of a monopoly. I think they're doing the right thing. I think the new search is great.
Yep, I agree. Totally agree.
All right, so we're having just a general love fest now. So let's we got to go to a different topic. We're all agreeing we can't have this. Alan is still gone, and Anthony is not strangely silent right now. Anthony, how you doing, buddy? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
I don't even know if he's there. You doing good? He's loud. He compensates.
Oh yeah, he is. Ooh.
He compensates for his poor lighting with great volume. All right, bigger. I'm just picking on Anthony. You know I love you, buddy. All right, bigger video and Windows sharing coming to Hangouts with extras. Have we talked? What? Just to update it. I mean, anybody? I don't know. Is there anybody?
In terms of news, you mean?
We're talking about the.
This is pretty controversial.
Hangouts. What do you think, Anthony? Go ahead. Hit this up for me.
I don't know. It's a bigger video, and I think it's also more analyzed, but I might be wrong. Not analyzed. What am I talking about? Better bandwidth. The correct word isn't coming to mind, but the bandwidth is better controlled, I think.
Okay. Wow, we're having some issues on the Hangouts. But,
okay.
And I guess it was funny. They actually recommended that you not use Chrome today for the Hangouts with the engineers. But I have no problem. But I use a dedicated machine for this Hangout.
I was told several times that you're supposed to use Safari or something. I'm using Chrome, and I've never had problems with Hangouts ever. The only problem that I've got from time to time, I can't get in because they can't connect to the Google Talk plugin. But apart from that, I've never had problems with Chrome and Hangouts.
Okay. Alan, I know you and Oleg are very, very excited about the next topic. What's Hot is now, I guess, is it language specific or just available in different languages? What's the deal? And you're frozen. So let me go to Oleg to give you...
Languages in regards to what?
What's hot in more languages? Does anybody know about?
Oh yeah, I mean that's basically just you could just select the language of your choice, and then see it. I mean it's not that big of a deal, except for people who don't speak English. Obviously, it's a big deal. So,
Okay.
It's not. The more important thing is that they changed. The important thing is they changed the layout of the Hangouts. That was the big change to make things bigger and utilize the real estate on the screen in a better fashion. I mean that's the change that actually is meaningful. So now you see everything kind of. They still have some room, some white space, which I'm sure they'll use for something else. But they moved all the controls out. They don't have the huge reindeer at the bottom anymore. The next thing is hopefully they'll remove it completely from the top also. And they've got so they kind of move things up at the same time. They made the windows bigger, so it's a little bit nicer to look at. But that was one big change. Also, they've changed the apps. There was an update to the apps, which are not huge updates, but they fixed some things and improved. There's still a lot of stuff they need to do on the app, in my opinion, but definitely making progress, moving in the right direction.
Okay, let me ask you. I guess the feedback thing is moved to the bottom left of the screen when you're in a Hangout, and that's cool. Or I guess in general on Google Plus, because the more and they actually monitor that. They told us that. We were talking to the engineers today in the Hangout. Alan and I were. I don't know if Oleg you were in. I think you were one, weren't you? But they said that they actually monitor that, and they're trying to make it more prominent to get you to use it more. It's one of the rare Google places. Google Plus is one of the rare Google products where they actually interact with you and monitor the feedback.
Well, the reason this was so horrible, the way we had it before, is because when you pull down your notifications, which are on the right side of the screen, a lot of times there's enough volume there to drop it all the way to the bottom. And when you drop all the way to the bottom, your feedback button was right next to what you're typing, and then next thing that happens, if you accidentally move the mouse and click on the feedback, number one, you started feedback you didn't want to start. Number two, you just lost your comment. Okay, so that was a huge reason why this was.
It also interfered with the chat window.
Correct. So now I think it's great that they moved it to the left. Definitely
much better. Much. Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, let's see here. We've got the incoming stream is gone. I got to be honest. I was critical of this decision, although I didn't use it. And this is a classic. I didn't use it often enough. This is a classic case. You don't miss something until it's gone. There's no way now. Once you hit 5,000 people, and I'm going to ask Linda to talk to this first. Once you hit 5,000 people, you can't follow everybody back, right? And as Linda pointed out poignantly in our last week's show, who you circle is you circle people for reading purposes. That's what you want to read. And she said she doesn't really spend much time in her mainstream because she's got 5,000 people, whatever, so she's circling her different circles or clicking on the circles to look at each specific stream as she goes through the day and then pays attention to her mentions, and she's had problems there. But the bottom line is, if someone does you the honor of following you and you want to quickly and easily see what these folks are saying, now there's no way to really do that without, clicking on individual people. And you can't circle all of them. So, like, it's almost disrespectful to not be able to occasionally look, at least, or frequently or occasionally or once in a while, to be able to look at what they're putting out. Because you can't follow them all, so there's no other way to find the content. By definition,
yeah, there is.
Okay, Linda, go ahead. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The way you find them is in your post at when they comment. In other words, if they're engaging with you on your post, they're worth looking at.
But that doesn't mean you're going to be...
That's one way. Also, another thing you can do is when you pull up a person, it shows you that you're in their circles. There's a little message underneath on the right that says you're in their circles.
But both of these are different from before.
Yeah, but
I could look at a general stream of all of the posts.
Yeah, but with all due respect,
following me, but I couldn't follow them.
With all due respect, Linda is a very unusual, super prominent, but very unusual circumstance because she's got so many followers. That's not what the vast majority of people on Google Plus have.
No, but Oleg, I've heard from people who have as few as, a couple of dozen or a couple of hundred people who are adding them.
No, okay,
and the way people were using this stream was to kind of put people on probation. You'd say, I'm not sure I really want to follow this person as I see them, and I'll go look at them later. And every so often, you look at your incoming stream, and if somebody catches your eye, you add them. Okay, what Google has now said is, we think we've actually found better ways for you to find people who you'll be interested in.
Well,
And everyone who's critical of this is saying, no, they're wrong.
Well, actually, what Google figured out, and it's with all their products, is that people weren't using incoming. I wasn't touching it. Incoming scared the hell out of me. The minute I hit it, I'd have to hit pause. It was every language except my language. And, you know, people weren't using it. If people aren't going to use it, it does not pay for Google to sustain it. And I think that was the main reason that people were, I mean, that Google made that decision. And like I said, I quit going into incoming because there was so much. It was so overwhelming. And it was easier to find people in my comments. I still have wonderful people that comment in my posts that I'm still doing the old circle shuffle where who is it that's not engaging with me and I'm not engaging with them. I go look at their profile. It's really not, content that I would engage in, and I move them out and move some of these people that comment in. I think it was, I want to say it was Scoble, but I can't remember. It was a long time ago when it all fired up that Scoble or someone said that what they do is when people start commenting in their posts, they have a circle called participators or engagers or whatever, and they would put them in there because these are people that would interact with them and engage with them. And he knew that this was a circle of keepers. So that's one way of doing it. But, as far as organizing people till you know where to put them. But in the meantime, it's like I didn't use incoming. I quit using incoming.
Well, Linda, let me ask you. I'm just curious. And then we got to move.
Sorry.
Linda, as we said last week, you're one of the top 100 people on Google Plus. Out of 60 million, you're like one of the top 100. You've got over close to 500,000 followers. So when you went to incoming, you actually had every single post from 500,000 people. How fast does that scroll up? I mean,
I'd have to hit. I think that stream had the pause feature on it. I don't remember now because it was. I quit going there after a while, after it got so busy. But I think it had the pause feature. But I have to hit it and hit pause immediately.
This must have been on Linda's webcam, so she wound up breaking the webcam. She was hitting it so hard.
That's the worst thing. Oleg, for real, wouldn't it? The worst part about this is they didn't pre-announce it, so we couldn't have gotten a screen capture. Linda's incoming stream.
No, but let's look at it this way, Dan. Have you used the incoming or not?
I used it occasionally, not enough. And I just
David, have you? Let's just do a scientific poll. David, did you use incoming?
Yeah, I used it. I'd get a lot of people from weird places. I'd want to see observe them for a while before I decide if I want to follow them. So I use it often.
Oh, I think it's a Chrome extension.
I hardly ever used it. Jens, have you used it?
No, I haven't used it.
Okay, so that's 2-1. Linda hasn't used it. That's 3-1. I haven't used it. 4-1.
I was finished.
I'm just doing a poll, real quick.
Okay. Well, I don't think it makes any difference anyway if it's used or not. What Linda said earlier, I don't really agree with it. That she said, well, it doesn't pay for them to maintain the income. It doesn't cost them anything to maintain. It's just a link.
That's not true.
And I don't.
That's not true. It does cost to maintain something, especially in code. I mean, I can understand why they chose to do it. I think what is disappointing is that the way they chose to do it was to just get rid of it, instead of to replace it with things that had a much more general use.
Maybe they will.
But why didn't they do it at the same time?
Remember they bought this company that deals with circles, Alan, not too long ago?
Yes,
Maybe
I
that's
remember.
The move.
I mean, the question though is if they did it, why did they pull one chunk of code out and not immediately replace it with something else?
Because
I mean, that's really the question. When they pulled whatever their I can't even remember what it was called anymore. The thing that they replaced search with. When they brought search in, they brought a much better and general tool in to replace a tool that wasn't heavily used.
Right.
Sparks, that's it. Because very few people were using Sparks. They replaced it with a tool that was more general, that did more or less the same thing, and then a whole lot more. Incoming was a place where not too many people were using it, but it served a very valid function, and a much more general function is what people have been asking for 6 months now. Why didn't they replace one with the other?
I don't know, how did you use it? What did you do? What do you normally do when you get people to circle you? What do you do with them? If you don't
What did
know?
I do with them? Personally, I tended to ignore incoming. Every so often I would look there, but I tended not to use it because I've got plenty of people that I'm already following.
But if somebody is just following you and says, you know, you've been circled by some person, do you then go and look at them, or do you just ignore it?
It depends.
Okay. In my case, I always look at that. And then I make my decision if I'm going to follow them or not, and I'm done. So that's what I'm saying. I don't need the incoming, because if I don't like what they're saying right now, it's not going to change.
I didn't agree with Oleg in one thing, that if somebody circles me, I always look at everybody who circles me. I go first.
Exactly.
I go first through his about page, see what he writes there. If he's got nothing filled in there, and whatever, he's usually out anyway. But even then, I usually go at least through their first 15, 20 posts, just to find out what they're usually posting about, and if it might interest me what they usually talk about. And then
exactly, that's exactly what I do.
According to that, I circle them. Oh no, Alan is unfortunately gone, because I don't know an awful lot about coding or anything, but Oleg, I think you do, so you might be able to answer. Is it does it really cost money to maintain an incoming stream like that?
No, I don't think it really costs any money, because they already have all these posts that are shown in other places anyway. It's not like they have to do something special. They just have another, and they already have the code in place. So it certainly wouldn't cost them any more.
Alan